2017 was a pretty damn good year for the world's most profitable tech company. Apple did much more than rake in more cash than any other company this year. Cupertino also pushed out its most impressive product lineup ever, laid the groundwork for the future of augmented reality, moved into a new spaceship campus, battled other tech giants, and got tossed into the political spotlight. Apple dominated the tech scene in 2017 more than any other company. Here's a recap of some of the year's most memorable Apple moments. 2017 started off with one of Apple's biggest legal battles ever, as the company feuded with longtime partner Qualcomm. The two sides traded jabs at each other in the press and in court throughout 2017. But all the drama started in January when Apple filed its first lawsuit against the San Diego-based chipmaker for overcharging on royalty fees. Apple also lost one of its key coders in January. Chris Lattner, the creator of the Swift programming language, left for Tesla. And Apple knocked heads with the Trump administration after a travel ban to the United States from several Muslim nations. Thanks to strong iPhone 7 sales, Apple snapped a streak of 3 quarters of shrinking revenues, putting the company on pace for an historical fiscal year. Following its strong financial report, Apple shares hit an all-time high a few times during the month. Mega investor Warren Buffett decided to double down on his Apple shares, and the company was named the most admired company for the 10th straight year. While Apple's year got off to a great start, its biggest rival Samsung struggled as its chief officer was embroiled in embezzling and perjury scandal. Apple and Trump also got into another disagreement after Trump decided to reverse a transgender bathroom ruling. WikiLeaks decided to kick March off by dumping the CIA's entire hacking arsenal online, giving the public and foreign nations a look at some of the country's hacking tools. Apple said it has already patched up most of the leaked exploits though, so customers didn't need to worry. The leak had no effect on Apple's stock price, which hit a couple of new highs during the month. The first new Apple products of 2017 were introduced in March as Apple debuted a new product-read iPhone 7, a 9.7-inch iPad, the Clips movie making app, and some new Apple Watch bands. iOS 10.3 was also released with the new Apple file system, Find My AirPods and more. The iPhone was also the main talking point in politics after a congressional leader of the Republican Party suggested that poor people should give up their iPhones in order to afford healthcare. Details of Apple's work on self-driving cars emerged in April after the state of California officially gave Apple the green light to start testing its autonomous vehicle technology on public roads. Vehicles equipped with Apple's sensor arrays were spotted in public shortly after, and some training documents leaked as well. iPhone chipmaker Imagination Technologies revealed that Apple is developing its own graphics processing units for iPhones. The news put the British tech company in financial jeopardy as it's dependent on Apple for revenues. A number of Imagination's top employees have already been hired by Apple for the project. Rumours also started to spring up that Apple is working on a mysterious satellite project that's being led by Dropcom co-founder Greg Duffy. Apple's fight with Qualcomm intensified during April too, as Apple deemed its contract with Qualcomm to be unacceptable and stopped making royalty payments altogether. Apple charged into May, beating Wall Street's expectations during its Q2 2017 earnings report. The company posted its second straight quarter of profit growth. Services played a big role in Apple's profit boost as the App Store, iTunes, Apple Music and iCloud started to become the size of a Fortune 100 company. Tim Cook revealed Apple created a $1 billion fund to boost US manufacturing. The move appeared to be a response to criticism from Trump and other Americans for making the iPhone in China. Gorilla Glass was the first company to receive money from the fund. In retaliation for not paying royalties, Qualcomm tried to get a court to order an import ban on iPhones in the US. It also asked the court to force Apple suppliers to keep paying it royalties while the company was in a standoff with Apple. WWDC 2017 launched Apple fans into summer with a host of new products and software that showed the company was just as good as ever. The company teased an all-new Imac Pro and HomePod speaker during its developers conference. It also came out with a new 10.5-inch iPad Pro to go with the first beta of iOS 11, bringing a ton of new multitasking features for the iPad with it. Apple also made its first step into the world of augmented reality with ARKit. The new API platform made it easy for developers to build AR apps, turning the iPhone and the iPad into the world's biggest AR platform. macOS High Sierra, tvOS 11, and watchOS 4 were also shown at the annual event. Tim Cook reportedly met with Donald Trump in June to discuss economic inefficiencies in the government. Other top executives from Amazon, Microsoft, IBM, Qualcomm, and Adobe were also at the meeting. Cook pushed Trump to make coding a mandatory part of kids' education. iPhone rumour season launched into full swing with reports of an upcoming 3D face scanning feature that would replace Touch ID. Meanwhile, Qualcomm kept its fight with Apple alive, calling for the International Trade Commission to ban all iPhones with an Intel chip. It appears there could be a resolution on the horizon though, after Qualcomm's CEO hinted the feud could be settled out of court if the price is right. Apple's other summer activities included the release of its first movie starring Dwayne Johnson alongside Apple's digital assistant Siri. Instead of dissing Donald Trump again publicly, Tim Cook responded to Trump's transgender military ban by saying discrimination against anyone holds everyone back. The biggest Apple hardware leaks of 2017 came from Apple's own software, after a HomePod firmware leaked out to the public, revealing nearly all of the details of the iPhone X. A leaked copy of the iOS 11 Golden Master also provided the names of the devices, camera and processor details, info on the new portrait lighting mode, new wallpapers and emojis and more. Apple's stock price shot to a new all-time high again after the company posted its second highest Q3 results ever. Apple's ambitious TV plans started coming into focus during August as it released the first episode of Carpool Karaoke. After hiring 2 Sony executives that helped bring Breaking Bad to the screen, Apple reportedly decided it would spend $1 billion on original content in 2018. Apple's biggest product unveiling of 2017 took place in the newly completed Steve Jobs Theatre at Apple Park. The iPhone X, iPhone 8 and iPhone 8 Plus were officially unveiled to the public. Apple Watch Series 3 and Apple TV 4K were also showcased at the event. iOS 11 launched to the public, bringing a bunch of important new productivity and multitasking features to the iPad. It also added a revamped control center to iPhone, a new Files app, improvements to photos and the camera, and hundreds of other additions. macOS High Sierra came out too, along with watchOS 4 and tvOS 11. After a number of natural disasters struck North America, Apple made a number of donations to help victims. US manufacturing also got another boost from the Apple supply chain after Foxconn announced it would build its first plant in Wisconsin. As Apple's fight with Qualcomm wore into October, reports started surfacing that Apple plans to sidestep Qualcomm entirely and make iPhones and iPads that don't use any Qualcomm chips at all. The two companies' legal battle is still ongoing. Tim Cook did a lot of travelling in October, meeting with the French president and then the president of China later in the month. Apple finally got the green light to build its data centre in Ireland that's been plagued with hurdles since it was announced. Meanwhile, Ireland was being sued by the EU for billions in unpaid Apple taxes. iPhone X, the most anticipated Apple product of 2017, launched at the beginning of November with huge lines that formed at Apple stores across the world. With its new Face ID feature and bezel-free display, the iPhone X packed in some of the biggest changes since the original iPhone. Shipping estimates quickly slipped to 5 to 6 weeks due to the huge demand. Apple Park finally opened its doors to the public in November after being under construction for years. Non-employees can only go inside the visitor centre, but you can see an AR version of the Apple campus, buy products and unique merchandise you can only find at the new Apple campus. Apple also posted its best Q4 earnings ever during November, thanks to the launch of the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus, and reignited growth in China. To the disappointment of audiophiles, Apple announced that its HomePod speaker wouldn't be out in 2017. Apple finished off 2017 with a bit of controversy after some iPhone users discovered that old devices got faster if you replaced the battery. Apple confirmed that it slows down CPU speeds on iPhones with older batteries, so that the CPU doesn't draw too much power and cause crashes. With Apple Park finally completed, Johnny Ive returned to working directly over Apple's design leaders and team. Apple bought Shazam for around $400 million, which may have made it the company's biggest acquisition of 2017. But it's hard to tell because the company doesn't disclose those details. Apple also launched the Imac Pro just in time for Christmas. The costly machine has earned rave reviews so far, but many Apple fans are waiting to see what goodies 2018 has in store. Well, that's our roundup of Apple in 2017, but let us know in the comments if you think there's something we missed that's worth mentioning. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and hit that like button, and make sure to subscribe for more great videos like this one.